Air shows can be a lot of fun. They can be a lot of fun to put on. They can be a lot of fun to watch. But what you don't want is things going wrong. But what you do want, if things go wrong, is a seat that works very well. And one point of interest, it looks like there's a canopy painted on the bottom of the aircraft. There is. That's to confuse fighter pilots who may be looking at it at this perspective, thinking they're looking at the top when it's the bottom. But this guy gets a little slow. And it doesn't go well, but fortunately he's able to get out. You notice he just got a very few swings there. All right, so how do you get to the point of being able to eject? Well, you got to do a lot of testing. And you go out to Holloman and the sled track, and you set up your tests, and you get two very brave people. No, these are dummies, but they do actually do a live fire before the seat. They have a very a very brave test parachutist who does this sort of testing. You see this guy? That's a dummy. Okay, most people don't have hands with joints like that. But they do multiple tests like this to make sure everything works, especially in a multiple ejection like this, because you want to be able to get both people out in very rapid sequence. And these, of course, are slow motion video. Edwards actually had a test track back in the 50s, and it's been decommissioned. I've been down there on the sled track. It's kind of interesting. They did a lot of high-speed ejection seat tests early on in development. But now Holloman is the place where you go for this. So the first part you do is you do it on these sled tracks to validate that the seats work properly. Well, what do you do after that? Well, what you do after that is now you have to take and put the seat in an aircraft. And still you're using the dummies. Okay, so what we do then is we take and we outfit, especially configured. In our case, when we were testing the F-18 ejection seat, we used an F4, and we put a dummy in the back seat, and the front seater controlled the ejection of the dummy. And we'd go down to China Lake. I was based at Edwards, and I had a friend of mine in the Navy who was the one who was flying the F4 for the ejection seat tests, and I'd get a photographer, and we'd head on down to China Lake, and we'd go up and we'd fly together. Now, I'd get a 38, and the 38 is just great for this because you got a good canopy, a good view, and it's cheap and easy to operate. So we use this, of course, for a lot of photo and safety chase. So I would get the photographer, we'd go down to China Lake, we'd brief the mission, him and his F4, and then we would go up and fly. And China Lake, as you all know, is located southwest of Edwards. It's a very nice facility, rather Spartan, near the Salton Sea, actually. And there is the airfield. Like I said, it's rather sparse, but what we'd do is we'd stage out there and we'd take off and we'd go into the test range, which was located right next to the airfield. And we'd make a few jokes about, does the guy in the back seat know what's going on, and he's really not paying attention like that. And then we'd have the countdown fired off. The photographer would take a lot of video. And interestingly enough, all the video that I flew chase for, of course, they don't give you a copy of it, and I don't have any of that. I would love to share that if I had it, but, we go through the qualification, we get the seat qualified, and we go from there. Now, one of the missions was rather interesting. It was hard to get everything to come together, and we would go up at times, and there would be a problem getting the seat to fire or some other issue. So we'd go up and actually not fire the seat, and we'd have to come back. And one test mission, we went up and fired the seat, and everything's fine. And all of a sudden, lead says, I've got 0 oil pressure. I believe it was his right engine. And at the same time this occurred, it was funny as could be, if you want to call that funny. I had a compressor stall on my right engine, and it flamed out, which was a little unusual. We weren't, we're going 300 knots or so. I forget the exact airspeed on the test point, but mine flamed out. So it was, well, who has the worst emergency? And I said, well, I'm going to have to go through the checklist to restart the engine. You've got an issue that, there's not much of a checklist. You just go in and land. So he peeled off and he went into land, And then I went into land. So we took off, and both of us had emergencies coming back in. I did get the engine restarted, but when you lose an engine steady state condition like that, there's something wrong with it. I forget exactly what they discovered, but anyway, we did these tests. They qualified the seat, and now they've got him in the F-18. And of course, that was back when we were doing the testing in the late 70s. This is a picture of me at 1999. Yeah, we were partying like it was 1999, and got invited with some of my NASA friends to come out and do a test mission on the F-18, which was just kind of a chance to fly the F-18. I'd flown the 104 with the NASA guys out at Edwards when I was a pilot out there, but they offered me a nice chance to come out and fly the F-18, and of course, there had to be a reason to fly. You always have to have a reason to fly, so they put together a test mission. I came out and flew it, and it was a great time to come back. Edwards is just a wonderful place. Of course, I don't think I could get back on base now. All the people I know have retired, so that's the way it goes. But that's a great place. They're doing a lot of good work, and that's the tale of who has the worst emergency and who should go in first and land. Funny how these things can develop. Anyway, if you liked it, hit that subscribe button wherever that thing may be, and thanks for watching. Appreciate it.